So Adam and Eve were expelled from the garden into the cave of treasures. They thought the darkness and the sun was going to kill them. They drank water not from the roots of the tree of life anymore, but as beasts. And when the cursed serpent tried to kill them and squeeze them to death, an angel came and saved them and threw the serpent onto the shores of India, which then became Naga and Shambhala and Agartha serpent cults formulated after that. Adam, as you have shed your blood, so will I shed my own blood when I become flesh of your descendants. And as you died, O Adam, so also will I die. And as you built an altar, so also will I make for you an altar of the earth. And as you offered your blood on it, so also will I offer my blood on an altar on the earth. After Yah teaches Adam how to make bread, grain, and other things to sustain himself, Satan burns that grain fields that they needed for their new bodies that they were walking in. And then Yah had to provide manna instead and to come and intercede for them many times. Satan buried the 2 figs Adam and Eve were supposed to eat after fasting until dead. They almost fasted until they died for 40 days. And then they had stood in the river appealing to Yah. Yah made 2 new fig trees for them. The fig trees also foreshadow the fig trees in Revelations, and the stars falling like figs. So whatever Satan was trying to do and trump them up with, the Lord always had another plan for them. He tried to burn them. He tried to stab Adam. He tried to shape-shift so many times. He even tried to appear as water to Adam and drowned him before, or he did that to Abraham, actually, when he was going to sacrifice Isaac, and made Sarah have a heart attack by appearing to be another person that he wasn't, and trip her up with guilt and all sorts of things. So the food, when they were about to die, the fig trees, the Lord turned into fully grown fig trees so that they had an abundance of figs. The 12th apparition of Hasatan is when he stabbed Adam in the side as he was giving an acceptable offering to Yahuveh. And Yahuveh responded with the word, and at the end of a certain age his word would be fulfilled, and that his blood would pour on an altar for all mankind, turning all of Adam's curses into generational blessings, and that the shade and the leaves and the fruit of the tree of life could be medicine for all nations then. So he's telling him about the sacrifice of the Messiah and the lamb that was even in the garden before we even came into this fallen world. So Hasatan appears to Adam, who's doing the right thing, trying to make a sacrifice and trying to approach God again, and then he stabs him in the side. Thus will it also happen to me on the earth, when I shall be pierced, and blood and water shall flow from my side and run over my body, which is the true offering, and which shall be offered on the altar as a perfect offering. So this is Jesus speaking to Adam. Each witnessed to Abel's death. Earth witnessed Abel's death even, and only received Adam as the first human into the ground when he died. It spit up Abel and wouldn't receive him. Now the serpent seed, you take a look at the writing on the walls of all cultures and nations and history, it's all there. Egypt, references to hybridization, it's in biblical genealogy. If Lucifer appeared as angels and people and elements and voices and as a beautiful woman to Adam, then why wouldn't he have done the same thing repeatedly to Eve, since she fell for his lies first and was created in the image of her heavenly mother? O Adam, that figure is the one that promised thee the Godhead, says Yahuveh. He promised you the Godhead and majesty. He is not favorably disposed towards you, but shows himself to you at one time in the form of a woman, another moment in the likeness of an angel, and another occasion in the similitude of a serpent, and at another time in the semblance of a god. But he does all that only to destroy your soul. So he's saying, why can't you see that? It's the oldest tricks in the book. Who are you listening to? Still applies to all the children of man today. His true form is still fallen, reptilian, and hideous. I can't deny things that I have seen with my own eyes, and that Yah has validated for me personally, like Montauk and scales on people's skins and stuff, and black lines in their faces, and nanotech, and crafts with black tubes and black oil, and all of it. So then Yahushua appears in a different form to the apostles later on in the Testaments. They didn't recognize him, but he didn't do it to deceive them, because he always revealed his identity and even the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven to them. And it's shown as his glory and his light to the world to them. Whereas Lucifer's shapeshifting was always with the intent to kill, to hurt, to destroy, to steal all of God's creation and everything about the creation of man. Because the Father's plans for us are perfect and good for all that love him. And the opposite of that would be to hate all that's good in the world and try to usurp it and supplant it somewhere else, like he supplanted fake things in the garden. And he still does a good job of distracting everyone from God's Spirit from moving amongst us. And religious spirits do this, and they block the Holy Spirit from being able to do its thing and to work within us and move. For his plans are higher plans, and just focusing on the darkness of the world instead is a big distraction. He told him to fast 40 days, and his consummation with Eve would be of pure intent and undefiled in a covenant, like a marriage, in Yah's eyes, in heaven's eyes. It was an approval, his permission. He'd quell any animal lust in Adam, he said, and other temptations that were coming from the devil at that time. And even Seth, who was fasting and had accountability by age 7, was tricked with a staff of light that Satan's angels had counterfeited with. And in their apparitions, Satan tempts him with another world and like with more beautiful creatures that humans can interbreed with and stuff. And then they come down from this place on this mountain that they were safe at, which they shouldn't have come down on, and had to repent from that. And luckily, the Lord saved them from being murdered there, because they were doing heinous acts that they still do today. The mystery of iniquities at the bottom of this mountain that the Lord told them to stay away from, because they were all Cain's seed line. So he's still doing the same tricks with many other lies and intergalactic lies and underground base technology, alien deceptions, taking people off world into synthetic realms that they need deliverance from synthetic realms with. They're making synthetic blood, cloning, all of that stuff. What we're supposed to be doing is to stay rooted on the foundation, fully souled, fully human, and operating wholly in our commissions that we're here on earth to do. And many who Yah chooses will become the bride if they listen. And they're not going to be seeking this escapism from the world here. And they'll be bringing souls back into the Messianic era and the harvest. And will endure to the end of the ages, because he's the God of all ages. So Satan later does so many of the same things to Jared, and he's telling him he could go to this beautiful garden in the north, just follow me, and then the same thing plays out. And pain and suffering come because of the decision and that choice to follow the worthless shepherd. Adam died on Friday, buried in the east of the cave of Machpelah, according to the first day of creation, in the 9th hour, which is Friday's sunset, the start of Shabbat, and his body was placed before a lampstand that burned continually. 930 equals 12, which is a foreshadowing of Christ's 3rd and 9th hour. And the reversal of that is the occultic 3 a.m. stuff, witching hours. Seth had a happy generation, though, and they did, in that time, hear the voices of angels and had ministering of angels. And they had praising and glorifying from within the then they were sent by God on errands when they were going up to heaven even. For Seth and his children, by reason of their own purity, heard and saw those angels. Again, the garden was not far from them, but only some 15 spiritual cubits. Everyone fasted and prayed 40 days. They mourned Adam 140 days, and the rest for 40 days. One spiritual cubit answers to 3 cubits of man, altogether 45 cubits. Seth and his children dwelt on the mountain below the garden, and then Seth died at age 912. And sometimes they made offerings 3 times a week, and every elder's instruction was to stay away from Cain's offering and to be buried with their fathers in the cave of treasures, which is the cave that Esau and Jacob had a conflict and fought over. where the father's kings continued to be buried in. And then Jared was taken down a mountain by Cain's people, and he saw how awful they were. And then an angel had to come and save him and put him back up on that mountain because he was scared to death. And then the sacred fires were blown out in the caves, and the patriarchs spoke in the caves, and all the voices ceased, save the voice of our father Adam, who spake to Jared by the power of God, just as one would speak to his fellow. And he said, O Jared, my son, offer gifts to God for having delivered thee from the hand of Satan. And when thou bringest those offerings, so be it that thou offers them on the altar on which I did offer myself. Also beware of Satan, for he eluded me many times with his apparitions, wishing to destroy me, but God delivered me out of his hands. Then God appeared unto Jared on the altar, and blessed him and his children, and accepted their offerings, and commanded Jared to take of the sacred fire from the altar, and with it to light the lamp that shed light on the body of Adam. And then he died at age 989. When they chose to leave that high holy mountain where they were safe, they were no longer called the angelic-like children of God, but were called children of the devil. And they couldn't go back due to the stones of flashing fire that were blocking the way. Shall the word of God come, and when he goes out of this land, he shall take with him the body of our father Adam, and shall lay it in the middle of the earth, after it's brought out of the ark by Shem into the place in which salvation shall be wrought. There were only 3 righteous men on earth, Enoch, Methuselah, and Noah, at that time. When Enoch had ended his commandments to them, God transported him from that mountain to the land of life, to the mansions of the righteous and of the chosen, the abode of paradise, of joy, and in light that reaches up to the heavens. Light that's outside the light of this world, for it's the light of God that fills the whole world, which no place can contain. The Secrets of Enoch also describes 2 angels. It says there appeared 2 very big. I never saw such as on earth. Their faces were shining like the sun. Their eyes, too, were like burning lights. And from their lips was fire coming forth, with clothing and singing of various kinds and appearances of purple. Their wings were brighter than gold. Their hands whiter than snow. They showed him a first heaven greater than all the seas. The second heaven was a prisoner's heaven, great darkness, past terrible storehouses. The third heaven by paradise was a tree of life, and its roots going down into the ends of the earth. Paradise is between corruptibility and incorruptibility, and there's 300 angels, very bright, who kept the garden with incessant sweet singing. The fourth heaven was the place of the sun and moon, accompanied by 4 great stars. Each star has under it 1,000 stars. To the right of the sun's wheel, and by 4 to the left of it, each having under it 1,000 stars. Altogether 8,000 by day, 15 myriads of angels attended to it, and by night 1,000. 6 winged ones issued with the angels before the sun's wheels into the fiery flames, and 100 angels kindled the sun and set it aright. Hasatan also appeared as an ugly old dragon that lied in the 5th heaven with the Grigori and the serpent beings, sons of darkness, Lucifer. The phoenixes and Calchidrai are marvelous and wonderful, with feet and tails in the form of a lion and a crocodile's head. Their appearance is empurpled like a rainbow, and their size is 900 measures. Their wings are like those of angels. Each has 12, and they attend and accompany the sun, bearing heat and dew as it is ordered from God, going under the earth in its circuit. These beings never fell, never left their first estate. They're still giants in heaven. There's giants in the throne room even. It's the ones here that mated with Cain's seed and fell and created the offspring of giants, and then they left disembodied antediluvian souls here called demons to wander the earth and try to inhabit people through their shadow workings and getting their door into this reality and all their manipulations. The 6th heaven has 7 bands of angels. It's a good government of the world. Archangels, ruling angels dwell there. The 7th heaven was a very great light, fiery troops of great archangels, incorporeal forces and dominions, orders and governments. Cherubim and seraphim, thrones and many-eyed ones, 9 regiments, the stations of light. He became afraid, and he began to tremble with great terror. And those men took me and led me after them, and said, archangels or chief angels, the 8th heaven that is called in Hebrew Muzaloth, is the changer of the seasons of drought and of wet, and the 12 constellations of the circle of the firmament, and other orbits of light, which are above the seventh heaven. And I saw the ninth heaven, which is called in Hebrew Kokavim, where are the heavenly homes of the 12 constellations of the circle of the firmament. The 10th heaven is Aravat, Father of creation resides there, and all the heavenly troops would come and stand on the 10 steps according to their ranks, and they would bow down to the Lord of hosts and would again go to their places in joy and felicity, singing songs in the boundless light with small and tender voices, gloriously serving him. I saw the appearance of the Lord's face like iron made to glow in fire of a furnace, and it brought out emanating sparks. It burns. The Lord summoned his archangels by the name Pravuil, whose knowledge was quicker in wisdom than the other archangels, who wrote all the deeds of the Lord, in 366 books. And the Lord said to Pravuil, bring out the books from my storehouses, and a reed of quick writing, and give it to Enoch, and deliver it to him, the choice and comforting books out of your hand. For before all things were visible, I alone used to go about in the invisible things, like the sun from the east to west and from west to east. From the gleam of my eye, the lightning received its wonderful nature, which is both fire and water and fire. And one does not put out the other, nor does the one dry up the other. Therefore the lightning is brighter than the sun, softer than water, and firmer than hard rock. I commanded in my wisdom to create man from 7 consistencies: 1, his flesh, from the earth; 2, from his blood, from the dew; 3, for his eyes, from the sun; 4, his bones, from the stones; 5, his intelligence, from the swiftness of the angels and from clouds; 6, his veins and his hair, from the grass of the earth; 7, his soul, from my breath and from the wind. So he braided us into all these things. And I gave him 7 natures: to the flesh hearing, the eyes for sight, the soul smell, the veins for touch, the blood for taste, the bones for endurance, and intelligence, sweetness, and enjoyment. Sataniel entered and seduced Eve, but didn't touch Adam. If I turn away my face, then all things will be destroyed, said Yah. I investigated all things and wrote the book of life, made thunder and lightnings. They showed... Enoch saw the keys, the guardians that rise, the way that they go. It's led out gently and measures by a chain, lest a heavy chain and violence. It hurls down through the angry clouds and destroys all things on earth in its path, and every measure and every weight. Everything is hung on scales and balances and stands in the market, and everyone should learn his own measure according to his measure, and shall take his reward. God shows how he does not want from men sacrifices nor burnt offerings, but pure and contrite hearts. Behind that they shall go up to heaven, to the uppermost Jerusalem, the eternal inheritance. Therefore I bid you do before the Lord's face all his good pleasures. When all creation, visible and invisible, as the Lord created it, shall end, then every man goes to the great judgment. And then all time shall perish, and years, and thenceforward there will be neither months nor days nor hours. They will be adhered together and will not be counted. There will be one aeon, and all the righteous who shall escape the Lord's great judgment shall be collected in the great aeon. For the righteous, the great aeon will begin, and they will live eternally. Blessed are the just who shall escape the great judgment, for they shall shine forth more than the sun 7-fold. For in this world the 7th part is taken off from every man's nature, and this life is dark. So are also his conception and birth and departure from this life. Achuzan, whence and where Enoch had been taken up to heaven. They took sacrificed oxen and summoned all people and sacrificed the sacrifices before the Lord's face. So you want to be in his graces and favor, and to have his face and his countenance shining with you. Because those who boldly test him to his face, he always says, I'll repay them back to their faces, like a spoiled child who shows no respect and needs to be taught a lesson. His enemies are laid to waste and desolate. So that I pray you will have changed hearts and good seeds that grow and sprout from whatever seeds that the Lord's planted in you, and spring up into a newness and a new courage and a new boldness in life, with a renewal and a cleansing period, in all areas of life, to become sanctified, to stand before him and be counted in that full measure of the harvest. Shalom Aleichem. Haolam.